You gotta love Base sometimes. He always has that cheeky grin on his face once he's got a frag, which sometimes he should have had, sometimes he shouldn't have, but Cooler was also the same. But some great matches there from last week, some very close ones as well. And you can see with some of the players in the Americas, they are slowly creeping up ever so slightly and closing that gap.
We're trying our best. All right, Lethal. I know you and ZSX love to rag on my NA brethren, but we're trying our best. And also, from those clips, you heard a lot of Flea. Shouts to our boy. It was his birthday yesterday. And as always, shouts to Ketchup for having a birthday as well. Those are the boys. You got to give them some love.
Oh, of course, no doubt about that. Happy birthday to Flea, as always. I think I said it to him yesterday too. But we'll have to look into today, see what's actually going down. But before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about the Pro League and how it all works. And, just a little bit of basics to see exactly what will happen throughout the next 12 months. And even if you haven't been or seen the Pro League before, then at least it's a quick explanation. So we do have 3 stages. Each stage will have a final. Each one will be going on for 13 weeks. But of course, not only that, for each final, before we used to have the top 6 who would battle out against each other in the mixed region bracket. But this time round, it's going to be the same. But instead, it's going to be starting from the very first round. And that makes a huge difference there for you.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. And also, out with the points. I'm terrible at math. I know I'm from NA. I don't know if other people are bad at math. But the whole point system was, what are we doing here? What is this? And now it's just every map is money, stacking cash, making sure you have the highest prize pool going into it. It's great. I think the changes are fantastic.
Exactly. A map win, $150, and a map loss, you still get 50. So at least you get a chunk of change. Even if you lose, it's just one of those things, really. But you get 3 times the amount if you win. So more incentive there, I feel, we're there for you. But let's have a look at the standings, starting with the European side and find out exactly what's happening. And I think it's a little bit of a change, but a little bit not at the same time, because if you see players like Avik before throughout the whole course of last season, he was always dancing around the relegation zone, but would always avoid it around that 8th spot. This time round, he's joined first, and he's been playing remarkable at the start of this season.
Yeah, he is an absolute beast, and I think he's kind of hitting that peak performance. We saw him, I believe, 2 weeks ago against Razy, taking out that clutch, kind of inspiring maybe everybody to be like, maybe we shouldn't be afraid of the clutch, but we'll see about that potentially later. But yeah, Avik has been doing a great job this go.
Yeah, Wenger and Razy, the Maestro men themselves, getting first and third there, so sneaking behind, as you can see. But I'm happy about Avik just due to the fact that as the endpoint man himself, we always knew before he had the potential, but a lot of the games never went his way, and you always felt like he was like the nemesis opponent. Even though he was at the bottom of the leaderboard, he'd caused so many problems and issues for so many of these players. But it's nice to see him at the top there. But let's go to the Americas region, 40, and have a look and see exactly what is going on, because I think there is quite a few players again who've been staying up there. And as you can see, Chain, it's nice to see him nearly at the top, but Dahang is in first place. Rafa is in 5th, but still has a game or 2 in hand anyway. And as you can see, I'm not too surprised that Rafa hasn't dropped a map at all in the last 2 matches.
I was going to say, the one thing that stands out to me is Rafa still hasn't dropped a map. Even in EU, people have dropped maps, and Rafa, that's what he wants. He wants to go through this entire season, and he wants to keep that column 0-0, and he might be able to do it. That's the terrifying thing. I think last season, he dropped 1 map the entire stage. I think that was against Saige, but it's just nuts. The guy is a beast.
Do you know what's even more crazy? It's the fact that if he wins today, that means it's his 35th match win in a row just in the Americas region alone. That's just unheard of, isn't it? You couldn't make that up in any title. He is, isn't he? It's unheard of. He's not a nice guy in that kind of respect, but you got to do what you got to do, haven't you? It's just one of those things. But let's have a look at today's schedule to see what matches will be coming up throughout the entire course of the day. And as you can see, to start off with, it's going to be Tox versus CNZ. Next one will be Nosfa versus Dramus, Dahang versus Zeneku. Rafa versus Dewey will be an interesting one because we know what Dewey's playstyle is like. It's very defensive, very passive. But even with Rafa, with a player like Dewey, he's one of those players where you need to try and figure him out quick. And Rafa can adapt very, very well. And, the 2 highlights, Maxter versus Chain and Sai versus Razy, should be a great day of Quake.
Yeah, solid games. Maxter versus Chain Cypher Razy. Don't forget, DJ Wheat's going to hop in on those 2. But starting off the day with Toxi and Zed, it doesn't get better than that. It's going to be amazing. And I know right off the bat, people are thinking, is Toxic going to get that Q4 movement? We'll see as we slowly move into the pick bans a little bit later. But what are your initial thoughts right off the bat for Tox and CNZ, Lethal?
It's a difficult one. I'm a little bit worried about Tox. Like, his movement is very good, but if his aim doesn't follow suit, then his movement does let him down a little bit because he gets a little bit more reluctant on some of the executions he makes as some of the fights he takes. But I think last week he seemed to be playing quite well. He played well against Cypher. In previous weeks, it wasn't too sure, but he's in a little bit of trouble now. He needs to at least get that W. But against a man like CNZ, it's going to be extremely difficult. But I'm sure you've got some good thoughts of CNZ because after the Quake World Championships leading into now, we're questioning like his integrity, his consistency, you could say, to find out exactly how he'll plan throughout the entire course of next season in the Pro League. But so far, he's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, not bad at all. Of course, the huge eye-opening performance at Quake World Championships, and he's kind of been a little bit steady, a little bit shaky, but slowly starting to kind of level off here and kind of hit his stride. Maybe not peak performance, but a little more consistency. But as you mentioned with Tox, it's kind of which Tox is going to show up. What are we going to get? Are we going to get that kind of like artistry? The movement is perfect. The aim is just insane Terminator-style Tox, or is it going to be the kind of lackluster Tox where he's like, ooh, he's not hitting his shots, something's off? It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, he's got one of the best tracking aims on the circuit, no doubt about that. CNZ knows exactly how, when, and why he should take some of those bouts. But I think it's still more trouble for Tox. It's like I said, it could be on form or off form. We talk about it week in, week out, every single time. But with CNZ, he's shown the consistency we love to see. I think over the last 2 months, the one main point with CNZ is that he learns to adapt a lot better compared to what he did in the previous season.
Yeah, as mid game is, as you mentioned before, Rafa's the king of it, and being able to adapt mid game, early game, and just figure out how your opponent is playing and be able to overcome that immediately rather than falling into a hole and at the 7-8 minute mark trying to figure it out and being like, oh, this is what he was doing the whole time. That's huge. So the fact that he's kind of adapted to that and kind of brought that to the forefront of his game is going to be huge.
It'll be huge indeed, but Tox is never going to let it down, of course. And we've seen, in previous matchups, not been playing at his peak, but he played a lot better last week compared to what he did in previous weeks. But yeah, like you said, we need to see an on-form Tox. We need to see that level of consistency, which we know he has, but, against a player like CNZ, it's going to be difficult. And I think map choices is going to play a huge part in this matchup.
I just want to see 85% LG out of Tox and like 90% rail. We'll see. I mean, it's just, if he can put on a highlight reel, then it's just so much, so many incredible frags come out of that when you get that peak performance Tox. And that's what I want to see because I'm selfish, and that's what everyone wants to see, I feel like.
You selfish man. How dare you? How dare you, boy?
Sorry. Nothing against CNZ. It's nothing personal. It's just business.
It is just business indeed. We'll go to the picks and bans now to find out exactly what two of these juggernauts will be playing on. And tell me your first thoughts here.
Sad face, no deep embrace for Tower of Koth. But, I mean, we got Awoken, we got Molten Falls, we got Ruins, and there we see it, Tox on the slash and Molten. That one should be fantastic. Anarchy for CNZ, that's going to be high flying.
Certainly will indeed, yeah, especially with the slash versus the Anarchy and Molten Falls. And I still find it quite weird that no one bans Molten Falls against CNZ. I'm still, in my opinion, it's one of his best maps, if not one of his better maps in the map pool compared to anything else. But people let him get away with it. It's pretty bizarre, in my opinion.
I think maybe they're still challenging for it. They're not maybe willing to admit that that's his best map, and they're like, I could do this. I could take him on Molten. I'm not worried about it. But then we see Galena versus Doom on Awoken. That's a pretty standard setup there. We could see some cheeky totem spots from the Galena. And Ruins, Visor versus Eisen. That one should be a good one depending on how we see CNZ deploy that turret and kind of if he's going to play the standard, I'm going to defend, near heavy with the turret and set up some traps down below. Tox should be able to suss that out pretty quickly, especially with the Visor vision.
Yeah, the turret placement on Ruins is very important. Most commonly, it could be around the heavy area, just so at least that way it's got a little bit of backup, or maybe feeding himself some info on depending on the timing. You can leave it on the top light area as well, because as you know, like some of the players, if they get caught in that light area, they're, I wouldn't say they're done for, but it's one of those positions where it's very, very hard to escape from. Probably one of the hardest areas throughout the entire course on the map. So long as he keeps himself out of trouble, he should be okay.
Yeah, but overall, series, what is your thoughts? I always like predictions. What can I say? I'm going to make you lock in one.
Don't do this to me.
I have to put you on the spot.
It's fine. I think CNZ is going to probably edge it out this time round, but if Tox plays how he played last week, it could be a different story. Tox could get his first W on the board, but it's so hard not to, bet against CNZ here.
All right. So 2-1 then, or full 3-0? You're going to see the clean sweep?
No, I'm going to say a 2-1. I reckon Tox may take Awoken depending on the circumstances. I think with CNZ having Molten Falls and Ruins, like, in the back of his sleeve, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to even have a clean sweep 3-0. But that's enough chatter, 40. I think it's time said and done, as we will be heading into the first map between Tox and CNZ. Let's see what these guys can bring.
Mega is slightly delayed now as Tox holding that T position, just waiting for a shotgun blast to the face. There's the double jump, and here's the LG. A quick fight over in the T-Con. Can CNZ win? 2 HP, and the Tri-Bolt will not save Toxic. CNZ on the board and gets the Mega after that huge delay.
Yeah, that was a huge delay indeed. It's quieting down a little bit now. CNZ is just going to find some info on his opponent, which he does find. He now realises he's going to be trapped in that LG area, but it's going to pop for the telly to see exactly what he's up to. Knows he's still there with that Tri-Bolt. But CNZ is in a comfortable position here. Mega coming up in the next 5 seconds. He's going to find out and see if Tox is going to contest it, but he's going to leave it for now. Heavy, like you mentioned earlier, it's still heavily delayed, so it gives CNZ some time to try and contest that.
Tox does get in on the railgun. Might be huge. Again, depending on if he can pop off or not to start to get something going. That first play, a little unfortunate delaying the Mega that long. As it CNZ might get trapped here by the Heavy. Good rocket spam. There's the LG. Good pop rail here as now he's stuck in the corner, 41 HP. Shotgun blast, can it? It does land. Very well done by CNZ, playing patient there. Tox just can't find the angle, try and spam some Tri-Bolt, but nothing doing. 2-0 for CNZ.
Yeah, CNZ wasn't really too sure how much HP Tox was on. I think he knew it was on a small amount, but wasn't exactly sure how weak he was. He's been very careful about shotgun shots. He jumped over, but good stuff from him with a 2-0 lead. He's going to find his opponent again, but he's backed away. Got the first rail. He's going to look for the second. Decides to back away and leave Tox with that Heavy. But look at this. Tox has still got time to contest that Mega, which he has done. First rail comes through. He's going to try and go for a second. Will he try and go for it? No, he doesn't, but doesn't matter anyway, as CNZ has been taken down. Tox gets his first frag on the board with a little tree of the Mega.
Really good rockets there. And I also love the Halloween shaft by Tox. Bright orange, look at that. That is a hefty, hefty monster right there. As he's waiting above this Heavy, shortly spawning. CNZ looking for some potential damage here. Rockets, and here's the trap. LG on LG, shaft versus shaft. A little bit of rocket spam to try and get him out of dodge. What a rail, threading the needle. CNZ extremely weak. Tox just looking for a little bit more here, and he nails the shoulder. The pole can't save you. Ties it at 2.
Well, he was strafing, but it looked like it was standing still. Maybe he was strafing a little bit too quick there. Tried to bait out that rail, but it doesn't matter as Tox managed to take him down. But tied up still. Tox is looking to try and aggress onto that top mid area, but this could be the time for him to go on the hunt as he pushes in with that LG. But Heavy is still up, and would he be able to burn it in time? No, he doesn't, and Tox gets a Heavy on top of that, and he can definitely try and go for the spawn if he can.
Really unfortunate, couldn't even steal the Heavy on his way out, couldn't moonwalk quite enough there as Tox takes full control now, and he's just lying in wait in the T-Con, waiting for any kind of sound cue to get more damage off CNZ. CNZ kind of forced to the LG side of the map for the time being, has to regroup and take this slow.
He certainly does indeed, as Tox has just been very patient here to bait him into top mid. Gets one rocket off, and yeah, the damage he'd done there was just unbelievable. He had to the right angle. Tri-Bolt comes in, and he does 35, but shows his presence anyway. The LG comes through, he's going to bounce up and try and finish him off if he can. As both players jump down, but as you can see, Tox just barely managed to extend his lead here, 4-2. But it's looking good here for Tox.
Yeah, I love that play. Gave up position a little bit, but Rocket jumped aggressively. Very, very patient on that last Rocket, too. 4-2. Tox looking pretty good here. Heavy is going to go CNZ's way more than likely here as he goes to the heavens after that Rocket pad here. CNZ has given up position, and with 9 HP, Tox can't really fight this. Does have a totem to heal back up. Almost gets that rail. That would have been really beautiful. But just like that, CNZ gets full map control, and now Tox on the back foot.
And as we're saying it as well, CNZ realizes this is going to try and creep up slowly but surely. But now he's going to try and, because it's that top mid. Decides to go for the telly anyway to make him think that, to give out some audio cues. But it's so much damage there. He was left on 31 HP. He needs to try and back off. But Tox is having absolutely none of it. Cleans him up, gets to Heavy, and is going to try and pick up the Mega 2 if he can. And as you can see, it leaves him at bay. A few Tri-Bolt shots there. Gets to Mega, and Tox is heavily stacked at this point.
Very back and forth for a second there. CNZ will grab that T-Con armor. But Tox looking pretty good, has a totem in the pocket. LG through the telly here. CNZ can't land the rockets he needs. The fadeaway rail is going to be good. Tri-Bolt coming out. CNZ has nothing to work with here. So weak. 3 HP. He's going to grab some health bubbles in the banana. But Tox is more interested in the heavy, wants to keep item control and map control. Can he make it back to Mega? It looks like he will, as CNZ was too weak to try and contest. Never mind, he's going to peek out and take some damage. Needs to be careful, and that's going to be enough to make him back off.
CNZ took a huge amount of damage there when he was trying to contest top mid, but Tox now looking very healthy. Once again, he's going to get the correct flank, got the tri-bolt out. I needed 19, but he maybe can get a rail off just before he crosses to the LG room, but doesn't. CNZ trying to get one of his own, but also missed, which is a bit of a sad chance for him. But still, Tox heavily stacked. Great shots from him, and he's going to try and pull through and see if he can finish him off the LG. CNZ still trying to stay alive, and he does, and manages to pick up the Mega, but it may not matter too much here. The rockets are fantastic, and Tox cleans up, extending his lead 6-3.
So unfortunate there, just a little bit early on that light armor, and then falls down to his demise. Perfectly placed rockets by Tox there. As you said, 6-3, and he's in position for the heavy with no signs of stopping. This is kind of the Tox we wanted. He's not necessarily hitting everything, but he's hitting everything he needs there. As the rail's coming out, now 25 HP, but he can't land the last one. CNZ takes that frag.
Ridiculous. I think he hit 3 in a row at that point, and it was absolutely necessary. I think Tox was so confident on his own abilities, he felt like CNZ had to miss at some point. Nope. Hit pretty much every single rail there from the Mega.
Tox overstaying his welcome a little bit there.
That's done indeed. CNZ still just trying to stay alive, but then again, so is Tox. As he goes through the telly, he's going to go up the staircase, but CNZ knows exactly what he's up to. He's going to try and call him off, but the LG from Tox is just way too strong. Picks up the Mega. Will we pick up the light surely when it respawns? But it looks like he's decided to wait now and see what CNZ could be up to as his next move.
This brutal LG, 7-4, 7 minutes in. CNZ gonna throw the punches here. Is he gonna get enough? One more? Oh, 31 HP. Very close there, but Tox with the LG takes him out. Looking for another rail shot. Almost gets the opportunity for one, as CNZ has to be careful. Wow, what a shot from Tox.
He's looking trapped.
Yep. Super patient, picks him right out of the sky. Tox is heating up right now. 9-4. CNZ, I thought he was going to drop onto that shaft. It's very dangerous. Looking for another one, and another rail from Tox. The Terminator showing up on map number 1, 10-4 right now. Dominant lead.
I always feel like it takes Tox at least a map to be playing like this, but it doesn't matter because he's playing phenomenal until CNZ managed to clean him up there. But 5 frags behind here. He needs to clean up here. If he doesn't, it's going to be in a little bit of trouble. But he went straight to the totem. 40.
Oh no, you hate to see it. Well, you love to see it, but you hate to see it. 2 minutes left, 11-6. Tox still looking strong even after giving up a frag. He comes right back, hits him with a gauntlet, and lets the totem take care of the rest. CNZ needs to find some damage. That's good opening damage, but the trade comes out. Tox will miss a second one as CNZ hits another one. Good jump over, and wow, Tox. Great rail shot there. He's going to concede the Mega, and now it's a game of time here. 1:30 left on the board, a 5 frag lead for Tox. He's going to go into this probably plus back. I'm going to hit all my rails mode here. He almost hits a drive-by rail through the portal there. He does have a pocket totem in case he needs it. It's a fantastic rail. Somehow dodges that rocket.
Tox now standing his ground with the LG, but it doesn't matter. CNZ cleans him up with the rail, but is way too weak to force another engagement. But maybe if he helps himself by stopping him from getting any weapons in his arsenal, it could be a little bit of an issue here for Tox. But to get 4 frags in a minute, it's going to be a very difficult task. A tall order, you could say. But on a map like Awoken, anything can happen, but I think it could be a little bit too late. But CNZ has to stack for it, so if he has a good engagement this time round, he definitely can force things out as he tries to push Tox. Tox is getting away nicely, backing off when necessary, but the defensive rockets aren't too bad. At least he's keeping him at bay and knows that it's a great position for him as he will have to walk through that totem. But that was a good rocket from him. He's now going to try and execute and try and clean him up, where Tox has been such a nuisance with those defensive rockets. And I think it's a little bit too late here, 40. I think it's pretty much all said and done.
Yeah, Tox played that beautifully, laying down the trap. That was a fantastic shot from CNZ, but a little bit too little too late there as Tox wasted the proper amount of time. 10 seconds left, 3 frags. It's going to take a miracle, and I don't think we're going to see it. Not on Awoken here. CNZ pushing in for one last fight. He will get it, but at the buzzer, still coming up a little bit short, but that was still a fantastic first map for this set. Tox kind of opening it up with the rails like we wanted to see, at least like I wanted to see, so hopefully more of that as the series progresses.
Absolutely. Normally, when we see Tox play, it takes him like, a map and a half, maybe, or halfway through the series to kind of get himself warmed up to that point. But yeah, he was hitting everything. All the chip damage was looking good. And even at the end, leaving that totem in place so that at least he can feed himself some info if he does come around that corner. Just making sure he's keeping himself on his toes and keeping CNZ guessing was a great way to kind of, you could say remove some of those last seconds on the clock. But the top mid control for Tox looked good. It's a bit unfortunate on some of the places CNZ ended up in, especially with that totem frag earlier. You could see that he wanted to, he was in that mindset to try and pull through and try and catch up, but it was just way too little too late by then, and Tox knew exactly what to do on that final minute of the game. But I think, with CNZ, he's better with the larger maps on the map pool. Next one, Molten Falls, I believe, and then it should be hell of a good game for him.
Yeah, we're going to go into Molten, and then Ruins is going to be the last map. Near the end there, as CNZ kind of had to start pushing more and more aggressively, you kind of saw Tox read that perfectly and just lay those totems as a trap. It's like, okay, you're going to have to plus forward into me. You're going to take the extra damage. We saw all that tri-bolt into totem spam around the corner before. It was just really, really good totem usage. Not the most typical, I guess. Most people try and go for the overstack and kind of get that totem economy up. We kind of saw a little bit different strategy there from Tox, but it worked. 11-9 takes the first map, and going into the second one, he was hitting 70% rail. Did I call that? I called like 80, didn't I? I was close.
Yeah, I think you said.
I was close.
Didn't you say 85% with DLG?
Okay, that's pretty nuts. Maybe that was a little too high. I don't know what I was thinking there. I've had too much coffee apparently. But yeah, that's a strong start. And again, CNZ was very close. He kind of heated up a little bit too late, but I think that he has it in him, and as you say, Molten Falls kind of is his domain. We'll see if Tox will steal that away from him, but I think this next map is going to be even better as both players kind of get on form, warm up, get ready, and start downloading each other as to how they're playing. Slash versus Anarchy is always a fun matchup to see, especially because Tox has the Slash Q4 movement. I mean, it's just artwork watching him work with him. I'm looking forward to seeing how CNZ plays around that and kind of utilizes the Anarchy movement on Molten.
Yeah, with his Slash, it's like his playground, but he's on CNZ's home turf, so maybe a little bit more of a struggle, but obviously both these players with the light abilities. Have to see how things pan out from here. But even when you saw there, 70% rail, was it 41, 42% with the LG, and he fired about 800 shots as well, and you can see from the map presence of Tox, he had at least 1,000 damage plus on his opponent, and that really does show, with damage dealt, it's so important to see because it shows how much, not just map presence, but your ability to move around the map and actually cause trouble for your opponent, and he's done it on so many occasions. It's been an absolute nuisance left, right, and center. But it's a different kettle of fish here with Molten Falls.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to keep up that damage in between items as well is huge. Keeping your opponent extremely low in between the majors is pretty much guaranteed victory as long as you can do that. But we'll see. Map number 2, Molten Falls. Let's get in on that Slash. The world wants to see it. It never gets old.
Never gets old at all between these two players, especially with that Slash of Tox. But we're going to start off with CNZ to see what he's up to as he picks up the heavy and already has that height control, waiting for Tox's first move. Knows exactly where he is, but he's going to drop down for now, pick up the rail, most probably the light too. But he's at the bottom of the map. He's just playing around with CNZ at this moment in time. He knows how good CNZ is on this map. I said before on the last stage, Season 1, Stage 4, but I think CNZ beat 6 or 7 players in the EU region on this map. But Tox realises this, I'm sure, study this map a lot and see if Tox can take him out on his home ground.
Well, it's a rough start to take a stray rocket to the face there. But no big deal here as both players stack back up off the second round of items here, and Tox just kind of holding mid-ground here at that upper level. Just middle of the map, waiting for sound cues, trying to defend whatever he can. Seeing that does have rockets already here as the rails exchange from the players. And CNZ will take his leave shortly after that. Because again, it looks like they might just trade items. Now CNZ's going to make a play on this heavy. Rocket spam is going to keep him at bay, make him think twice before. And that actually might give an opportunity to Tox to make the Mega. I thought he was going to go straight into the snail trail, but he didn't. So again, items traded and a relatively slow start.
Very slow indeed, considering the champions they're using, but Tox may have the slight advantage on that, considering the mobility of Slash and the expanded variety of strategies he can use to corner off CNZ. But it looks like he's going straight in, but CNZ's got the inject to try and get away in case he does push through, but it's only on 68 HP here, as Tox was trying to drop down on the Mega to try and catch him off guard, but sadly it wasn't the case. But the Mega is still up here, so CNZ is going for it. Tox was around the area and didn't pick it up.
CNZ's so smart. So Tox knew that Mega was going to come up, and then he wanted, oh, there's the LG. Is this going to be enough? CNZ's trapped. He's got to hit everything to try and get out, and he can't. Tox with a great trap. But Tox rotated back to the heavy, and CNZ didn't commit at the heavy to die there. Unfortunately, died anyway, but it was just really smart from CNZ, knowing that, hey, this isn't safe. Just because I see that major up, it doesn't mean that Toxic's not lurking, waiting to just murder me.
Indeed, he can be a bit of a bully when it comes to the items. Tox now. Let's go see if he can try and call him off, but it's not to be. CNZ has height advantage once again on top shotgun, as the heavy will be coming in the next 15 seconds. So we've still got a bit of time yet until both these players will try and contest one of these items. But Tox is just using that tri-bolt to see if he can feel out his opponent where he could be. But as you can see now, trying to get a little bit of damage done. Hasn't really done any as of yet, but it will do now. But somehow, some way, CNZ is still standing on that part of the platform, picks up the heavy, and surely this is time for Tox to try and get away. But he's still trying to take these rail battles, and he realizes it's just too much to take. Needs to try and re-heal if possible, and go back to his default stack.
So CNZ grabs both majors. Well fought, well earned. Toxic waiting to do some damage to this telly. Needs to be very careful. CNZ just going to get caught out. Rocket somehow makes it a trade. But Tox just putting out all of that damage there. 2-1, and now he's going to look at that movement, and this is going to be really bad for CNZ. Tox is just going to take his lead and grab both majors. What a rocket. Oh my god, if he would have hit that, I would have cried.
So would I. That was so risky earlier going for that heavy. I'm surprised he went for that. But CNZ not looking too bad. He's got the light, he's got the inject if things don't go in his favour. But it looks like he's going to use it anyway to see if he can try and corner him off. But it looks like Tox is getting a feel for his opponent, knows exactly what he could be up to and what his plans of action could be at the moment. But look how stacked Tox is at the moment, especially with that slash. He's not only got the upper hand of stack, but in terms of the mobility to try and corner him off and go for a cheeky flank, that's definitely going to help him in multiple ways. But the Mega is going to come up in the next second. CNZ really needs to get out if he can, but I don't think he's going to be able to contest it enough. He's not really in a position to try and go for it. Height advantage, yes, but in terms of stack, absolutely not. But that rocket is definitely going to help him out a little bit.
Yeah, not worth it. He's going to make his way over the heavy and try and deal at least some more damage. He's going to drop down and ride the lightning, but it's not going to be that damaging here. Good return rockets from CNZ, and he turned this around here as Tox is actually out of rockets. Needs to be very careful with his next few moves.
He certainly does indeed. CNZ is going to have another go at the Mega to see if he can contest it and at least be able to grab that. Got it with ease this time round. So Tox knew he wasn't really in a position to go for it, decides to leave it. But at least it's got a little bit of height on CNZ, but it's not going to work out too much in his favour. But a few of those tri-bolt shots may help in terms of if he wants to execute, push into CNZ. But it's just a little bit too much. He has the heavy, he needs to try and back away if he can. Keeps him back with the LG, but an even trade, I'd say, in terms of the LG accuracy from both these players, even though CNZ had this slightly bigger stack. But CNZ still trying to look for danger, for trouble here. Tox was just waiting for him on that jump pad to LG him as he comes up. CNZ knew exactly what he was up to, decides to leave him for now.
And Tox hanging by a thread, doesn't want to show here as he's still relatively weak. CNZ with a massive stack. Won't have inject for 20 seconds. Tox will have the trail up in case he needs to escape. He's just going to skate all around the map here, try and buy some time, stack back up. CNZ reading it perfectly there. There's the trap on the armor shard and takes that frag, ties it at 2. That was a really good read by CNZ.
Yeah, it really was indeed. Tox did not expect it, and that's the thing with Slash, you've got to be a little bit cautious at sometimes, especially down those narrow corridors. But CNZ is looking to push through. Beautiful rail there from CNZ. Nice clean up from him as now finally gets the lead in this game. But it's taken one rail on the chin. Tox isn't really looking too healthy himself, but he's got the inject. CNZ's going to be looking to see if he can try and contest that Mega. Should be able to just fine, even though Tox is in a better position, but it's not going to help out. Tox is going to come round straight away. Nice rocket. Didn't do too much damage, but let his position be known. As CNZ will pick up that light and maybe go for that heavy at some stage, but let's see what he can do here.
Set up for some damage here. CNZ misses with his rail. Tox won't miss with his. Will miss out on the second one. As CNZ will grab the heavy. That rail was big, but not big enough, and the inject comes out for CNZ. Now it's LG on LG. Tox moonwalks his way out of there. Too early to grab the heavy. Does have 225s to work with, and now he's stuck between an LG and a hard place. Rails exchange. Tox somehow still alive. 4 HP as CNZ is going on the hunt.
He's after blood at this moment in time. He's trying to do everything he can to clean him up, but Tox kept himself in a great position, and finally, after a long drawn-out battle, he gets away. But what a beautiful rocket there, 100 from him, and there's no way, surely. Yes, he does. Tox cleans him up with the rail. That was a great predictive rocket there from CNZ, but it just wasn't enough as Tox managed to clean things up, ties things up as well, and he's looking very good here. He's going to be looking for that heavy in the next 10 seconds for you.
These rockets from both players, some of them are just gorgeous. Here's that rocket again into another one, into a rail. Tox is hitting 65% rail and popping off again. 4-3, taking the lead, 7:45 in. And he wants this Mega, and if he gets it, this could be real bad for CNZ here. He's trying to do whatever damage he can. Decent rocket splash here. And he's actually going to make a play. He's going to eat a rocket, but he's going to win out on that, and so much damage up from Tox again. Players tied at about 75, 60 HP apiece here, but I think it goes in favor of CNZ as he has a light armor to work with. He has position on the heavy. Tox needs to be careful here. He really wants to peek, and he's going to miss with that rail. Plasma comes out from CNZ. Oh, and that rail, 10 HP. But CNZ's actually going to go. He wants to just take full map control before he commits to anything.
Oh, look at this stack difference. Surely, yeah, CNZ has gone straight in and cleaned things up nicely. But has to be careful, though, because CNZ is on his tail once again as he comes through. But looks like, CNZ will be taking that once again. But Tox has to be careful now. CNZ is one frag up, but it's only got 1 minute and 20 left on the clock as he bounces straight through. And Tox is trying to do everything he can. Gets the first rail, gets the second as well. That was madness from Tox as he managed to tie things up with only 1 minute and 10 left remaining.
Sorry, I just did my best Little John impression right there. As Tox he says, you know what? I'm just gonna hit all my rails. And CNZ with a fantastic return rocket somehow lands right on its mark, 6-5, and this is just a slugfest now.
It is indeed. CNZ has derail. Finally picks up his first piece of armor in the last 20 seconds, but has the inject to boot. So I wouldn't really say CNZ is in a bad spot with that inject. It's probably roughly the same stack. But look at this, so Tox is coming straight in, is looking for his opponent to see exactly where we could be, but the rockets have been phenomenal from Tox, and CNZ realises this, but Tox is still, I wouldn't say being too patient here, but he's trying to pick, trying to choose the right bout here to try and clean CNZ up, but CNZ's doing a great job. Just keeping himself tucked away here, but as you see, Tox went straight for the telly. CNZ went straight back through, but Tox has found him again. He's been done this so well, but he's fallen off, committed suicide. And it looks that's all said and done for the map, but Tox is still trying to make something happen and he's on the chase. But with 10 seconds left remaining, I can't really see this happening. He may take him down here, but he definitely won't have enough time as he does finish him off. But it's too little, too late as CNZ takes that 6-5, very, very close in the dying seconds, the dying minutes of that game. What a way to, say, I need a second map of the first series here for you.
That's so heartbreaking. I mean, Rafa's a great guy, but that's not the time to give him a visit there. That was a really close set right there on that map. That was, I mean, I knew that the game was going to be close. I didn't know it was going to be that close. And then Tox just has this insane ability to just say, I'm going to hit all of my rails and completely turn everything on its ass. And you saw that right there of him heating up. And then CNZ comes back with, well, I have well-placed rockets. And it was just, it's heartbreaking to see it end like that. But well done to CNZ to keep kind of his composure and kind of clutch that one out. That was very, very close.
That was incredible. CNZ actually had more item control throughout most of that game, and Tox didn't really care. Like, he always felt like he had the advantage, not in terms of positioning, but in terms of like catching him off guard with his surprise attacks. The routes Tox was taking throughout the last couple of minutes, we have to talk about that. His predictability, and it wasn't even the fact that CNZ was not unorthodox enough. He was actually, not being that predictable. Tox just knew exactly where he could be, not just from audio cues alone, but just having, like, you could say that individual game sense on the possibility of what CNZ could be up to. We know what he's like. It's one of his best maps. We said it before. We're sure that Tox has probably checked out what CNZ is like on Molten Falls. He's read him like a book, but it just wasn't enough. But we can definitely safe to say that with Tox, we're definitely seeing an on-form version of him. But will he get that first W, or will CNZ take it away from him?
Oh, that's the soul-crushing moment right there. You see, I think he's at the end hitting, what, 62% rail? 62% rail is good,
against
but
an anarchy?
against an anarchy. That's a skinny boy right there. All those injections, So that's even more impressive, but not quite enough. CNZ willing to clutch that out, doing whatever it took. 6-5 again. Toxic doing him a little bit of a favor there with that rocket jump off his face in the rail room. Unfortunate. But I'm looking forward to the third map now. Now we go to Ruins, Lethal. What do you think about that? Visor versus Eisen.
Not gonna lie, mate, I'm looking forward to it. Even in that last map, 1,600 more damage in comparison, almost double compared to CNZ, and CNZ still went on top. But I think it's one of those situations where CNZ had to wait for the right moment on a lot of occasions because he wasn't really too sure on what Tox could be up to. But that's his style on Molten Falls. He has different styles on different maps, which is why he can be quite a hard opponent to read. But Tox read him quite well, just never really had to stack half the time, which was a little bit of a shame. But yep, you're right, going into his third map, the Visor versus the Eisen. We know what's going to happen with the Eisen, like we mentioned with the turret before. He's going to have it placed on the heavy, on the top light. He's going to feed in areas where, not to give damage, but at least feed himself the information required to try and close him down. But with the Visor, it could be, again, another killer fish. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and again, with Eisen, it's always a nightmare to try and to kind of run into traps, but it's also the versatility of it. You can throw it down and kind of block damage if you want, kind of use it as a pocket protector, if you will, kind of a nerdy way to look at it. But I look forward to, this is going to be the one. I feel good about it, Lethal. 75% rail out of Tox on this map. Lock it in. That's my prediction.
Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised after the first map. 62%, against an Anarchy. 70%. Okay, I know it's against the Doom, but, with his double jump, it can be a little bit of a nuisance to try and predict if he'll actually use it or not in certain engagements. But, yeah, Tox is looking very, very good so far. And I felt like he didn't adapt as well the first map, even though he did take that first map, but he looked a lot better in terms of adaptation in the second map. He knew exactly where CNZ was going all the time, especially those last few minutes of the game. He could have been anywhere. Molten Falls, isn't a small map. It's, one of the bigger maps in the pool. It's very difficult to predict where he could be going and what he could be up to. He could have easily flanked and assumed he could have gone one way rather than the other, but he knew where he was at all times. He was on his toes, making sure that he would give CNZ absolute chaos and hell, and he's done a good job of it. So I think CNZ now needs to be a bit more unorthodox and be a lot more cautious on where he's going and what routes he'll take, and we'll find out as between these two players in this first series of the day. It is tied 1-1, but who will take this third and final map, as we'll find out, as we'll be starting from Tox's POV and find out what he could be up to start things off.
Perfect. He already has a rail. That's all he needs. Pretty standard start here for Tox. Already popped the vision to get all the information he can, and he's doing a good job of stealing away all these shards so he can get another vision relatively quickly as well. And there it is, has all the info he needs. Has his back to heavy. Its positioning is pretty good, but no rockets. Needs to be close for this up-close fight. There's the LG. Timmy the turret comes down as well. Needs to be really careful here. Taking a lot of damage, and this is exactly what you don't want. Does duck behind the wall and is going to deal with Timmy.
He will do. He needs to be careful with
place.
armor. It really is. After all that, and he took one shot with the MG in order to clean things up with the turret. I was pretty sure that he left it there, but I think he wanted to double check to make sure. But the LG comes through, but surely Tox can't take this bout. He's doing everything he can. 2 rails come through. Needed a third, but sadly won't be the case, as CNZ gets the heavy, puts the turret down in case Tox tried to push through. Tox had a feeling that he may end up doing that, but Tox only had the rail at the time due to the spawn he had, but goes back around the heavy area, jumps up to the top light to find out and see where Tox could be. Won't find anything as of yet, but I'm sure he will find out through the audio cues directly above him. and is waiting for him to drop down on that staircase. But Tox is tempted to drop down, possibly once he's picked up that Mega, which he has done. But it looks like CNZ just sitting pretty at the moment here, for he's just picked up the Heavy, waiting for it, maybe trying to bait Tox out into coming down below. And looks like he's coming down anyway. This could be really bad for Tox, as some of the rockets come through nicely. And is he going to clean things up? Yes, he will, as CNZ extends his lead 2-0 here, 40.
Those rockets were so good. They weren't direct, but they were girthy enough to just bounce Tox all over the place. 2-0 for CNZ. And that was, yeah, a bit, I don't know, willy-nilly from Tox just jumping down there trying to take down the turret, and then CNZ hit him with the supplies, and he was there. So Heavy gets taken, Mega gets taken by Tox as the trade comes out again, but CNZ is fully in control, I would say.
Yeah, that second frag, I felt like CNZ was down there for so long, being quiet on the floor there. It just seemed like Tox didn't have the info required in order for him to maybe protect it. If he didn't know, maybe he shouldn't have pushed down there anyway, but he wanted to take the risk, and the risk didn't go in his favor. The bigger the risk, the bigger reward, but in that case, not for him this time around. But CNZ is going to be playing the same strategy, having the turret next to the Heavy and just picking up anyway in case Tox does try to contest it. But this is the problem against Eisen, especially if you haven't got the bigger stack. It's so hard to try and contest for it. If you do want to contest it, against Eisen, you have to be at least 5-10 seconds prepared before you even try and force that engagement out. But CNZ is still sitting there at bomb Heavy. It's been there throughout the majority of this game, at least for the last 90 seconds over the course of the last 3 minutes. But finally, CNZ decided to go up top. Going to go for some Mega shortly. But it's going to see what Tox is up to and see if he'll try and contest for it. But Tox realizes, drops down for the Heavy, and CNZ has delayed the Mega by quite a large amount, but still at a point where both items are similar timing.
Yeah, Tox actually delayed the Heavy as well, so both players delayed their items. And that small rocket earlier from Tox actually sent CNZ up the jump pad and kind of forced him off position, so they had to make the trade. So that was, little rocket goes a long way near that jump pad as he forced him up. But now, complete silence from both players as they're trying to suss each other out here. CNZ, superior positioning in the T-Con area, but it looks like another item trade here, unless CNZ wants to get crazy. Nothing doing. He has the turret set up in the Mega area here, as he hears Tox, and now he just makes his way down below. I think a little bit of miscalculation, maybe setting up way too early down here for Heavy.
At least a delay from Tox helps out a lot, but Tox is just double checking to see. He doesn't push down this time round, but CNZ definitely wants some. As the LG comes out, continues to do a large chunk of damage to Tox. Tox needs to try and get away, but he has done. He's now got the height advantage above CNZ, but CNZ's waiting for him to see if he can pick him off of the rail, but somehow the tripod's just barely missed, but he picks up the Mega, but at some stage, both his items will be delayed enough to be away from each other. And we'll have to find out which player out of these two will have full control of both items. But even with the Eisen, it's still going to be a bit more effort for Tox to try and get them both.
CNZ moving away at the right time here is Tox again. He's well aware of that positioning near the jump pad, and he's always going to spam rockets there, make sure that CNZ's not lying in wait. As CNZ appears to be kind of setting up shop down there. He's got Timmy the turret. He's going to wait patiently. Gets forced up, and they trade items again. But Tox needs to find some opening damage and try and get himself on the board here, as CNZ's stack is pretty big. Tox looking pretty girthy himself, but again, it's all about the damage and trying to get himself on the board. 5 minutes in, and CNZ looking pretty comfortable here as he's forcing Tox to jump into the traps down here by Heavy. Timmy the turret popping off, rockets, and there is the frag yet again for CNZ. Tox does a good does a good job of putting tremendous amounts of damage out, but he needs to follow up and finish the frag.
All that damage he took from CNZ and his turret, and he was left on such low HP. Tox will be kicking himself a little bit. It was a nice little play from him, but the turret's just causing way too many issues for Tox, and he's just struggling in every sort of way to contest it. But he's going for it again anyway. I suppose he needs to, because he's only got 4 minutes and 10 left remaining. He's going with the LG, but the turret's done a huge chunk of damage as well as him. But
Wow.
Tox still managed to clean things up. Gets the first frag on the board. And hopefully we'll get a Heavy to his name, which he has done. But this is Tox's perfect opportunity now. Mega and Heavy are heavily separated in terms of timing. And if he can get the timings right, even though CNZ does pick up this Mega, then this could definitely be Tox's. But he needs to be careful, though. CNZ is playing very similar to Base's style, which isn't good for Tox.
It's just so difficult to break through that defensive turret and rockets down there. It took about 6 minutes for Tox to fully break through, and it almost cost him his life again. 3-1. He needs to be careful now. He's going to get this heavy. Almost gets hit on the way out. I thought CNZ might post up for another rail, but this is kind of where Tox needs to turn it around. Even if he doesn't get the Mega, he needs to be able to put out some damage. Right around the corner goes CNZ. Nothing doing for Tox, and this is going to be unfortunate here as time is ticking away slowly but surely. And right again, as he gives up position, the defense is set up by CNZ almost immediately. LG on LG, pushing him back against the wall. The rail won't hit. And Tox, after all of that work, gives up positioning again, and the defense fortified from CNZ down below.
Oh, another beautiful rail there from Tox. Sadly, he missed that first one early after the LG, and he was railable too at that point. But CNZ has picked up the Mega. Tox is after him and knows time is ticking, but he definitely doesn't have to stack in order to force that engagement. And you've got to remember as well, even though Ruins is one of the larger maps, it's much easier to spawn trap in comparison to some of the others. So we'll have to see if he can get him on spawn once he's taken CNZ down at least one time, but misses the first rail. He needs to start hitting them now. Look at the stack of CNZ. Tox knows he's in a bad spot. Needs to try and find something, anything at this moment in time, but struggling to find some lights, let alone anything else, some of the items. But it's going to be all but done for here. But Tox still has 2 minutes and 15 left to play with. He just needs to figure out an opening in CNZ's defense once again, and then follow through with that spawn frag afterwards.
CNZ rotates, grabs the Mega, adds to that stack, and again, he's making Tox full commit down below, and it's just a terrible fight. It is not in his favor. There's no way for him to really do anything about it. He can keep strafing like that. I wonder if he picked up on the damage doing both, and he knows that he's there. Good rockets into the rail. This is exactly what Tox needed, but he needs to get the frag. 8:15 on the board. There's the LG push with the vision. Can he hit one more? He can, and Tox will put himself on the board. 2-3. Mega's behind him, and this is the perfect opportunity for Tox to tie at 3 here. Stuck in the courtyard. There's one rail. Hits with another one, but he needs to find a little bit more here. CNZ is absolutely reeling after all that damage.
That was a fantastic flank. Great prediction from Tox there. He knows he's so close. He's still got 1 minute and 20, which is still a fair amount of time, but we know what CNZ's been playing like. He's only been trying to fight on his terms, and there he could get picked up, but CNZ realises it's too little too late. He needs to back away. He will find the turret, but no need to destroy that as he can get so around the corner so quick. He should be fine, but nice to get the first rocket. Beautiful LG. He's going to try and clean up with the rocket. Yes, he does. He ties things up. Minute left remaining. This is Tox's chance to try and do his best to get that lead before it turns to sudden death.
Ooh, and CNZ takes a rail going up the jump pad trying to escape. Tox smells blood. He hits another rail. CNZ so weak. Can he find another one? Almost clips the toes here. CNZ in a really, really bad way. His next move could be his last as Tox smells blood, and he wants this frag. He doesn't want to do sudden death at all. Trying to spam rockets, trying to force the situation. CNZ extremely patient.
He is indeed. Tox is trying to decide what he should be doing for now, but he's going to prioritise the items, which is definitely the right move. 15 seconds before we head into sudden death. As it appears in sight, he knows exactly on CNZ's whereabouts and what he could be planning. First rail comes through, so at least CNZ's got... Oh, that rocket jump could have made such a huge difference. Sally just barely missed it, but it doesn't matter. CNZ is still very, very weak in terms of HP. Sudden death will be played out here. Gets the Mega, but look at the item control from Tox. It's got it perfectly timed, segregated around the 6-7 second area, which is perfect enough time for Tox to go back and forth for both of these items. CNZ, it's not looking too good for him. He's in a bit of a bad spot. He's just waiting to try and find out what he can do in terms of picking up these lights and at least getting something done here. But Tox is just looking really, really good.
Yeah, Tox very much in control, but CNZ doing a good job of just buying time, trying to buy breathing room. That drop rail from Tox almost hits. He's going to leave the Mega up. He wants to try and put out some damage, but CNZ actually doubles back. Needs to be careful here. That could have been an opportunity. What a rail from Tox here. Almost hits a second as CNZ disappears through the telly, and he's just constantly on the back foot, but Tox can't find that frag. So CNZ being a pest, staying alive as best he can, but it's only a matter of time if Tox keeps this up.
Well, I loved what Tox was doing earlier, but tended to go for the heavy, forced out the audio key and went back for the Mega to bait CNZ out, but CNZ didn't take the bait. He decided to pull back, but This could be the time where Tox could do something, but CNZ just manages to pull away, misses that rail. And CNZ is not really in a good spot right now. This is probably one of those positions he could be in. Both of them have such a similar stat kit. He's only on 27 HP. How did this happen? CNZ is not too sure whether it's to force out this engagement or not, but it's the same base. He's actually gone away for now. And he's still directly above it. It could take him out. He's only on 22 HP now. Tox, I don't know how he's still alive, but then again, how on earth was he in a position where he didn't take that fight? CNZ was literally there for the pickings. It's not really a great part of the map to be at, especially with such a low stack in comparison. But Tox, 72 HP, up to 97 now. He is the one on the back foot, but he has the piercing sight. So if CNZ does try and creep up on him like he is trying to do now, he can get away no problem. But the first rail, that was beautiful there for Team. It could be here for the long run, depending on the circumstances here.
And Tox with a little bit of I can't believe I missed that. The mouse shake heard around the world. But, I mean, CNZ's patience is what really is astonishing here. But this could be it. Here's Tox is stuck in the courtyard. The LG takes him down. And CNZ brought that back from nothing. He had 10 HP tops at a certain point. Tox had full map control. And CNZ stays patient, makes Tox kind of force himself into a fight and then hits all that damage, backs away. And even after that, even after he had him cornered, he was like, I'm going to take items and I'm going to get my stack up before I commit to anything. So that was a really good job by CNZ.
That was a phenomenal job. I don't know even how Tox even managed to lose that fight. It was like, it was in a great position. CNZ was a great part of the map, but you saw like CNZ was kind of hovering around the heavy machine gun area, like on the weapon spawn itself. And he was kind of teetering around there, so you saw the rockets from CNZ were not registering as well, but it's if they wouldn't do enough splash damage due to the fact that it was bouncing around there so much. I think Tox felt like he was going to drop down at some stage, but Tox did a good job staying alive afterwards on those hourglasses, trying to hide through. CNZ was looking for that rail, but decided to back away, gets this stack himself. But I think we were pretty confident that Tox was going to take it, and we felt like CNZ could be delaying the inevitable at the end, but my word, what a way, and what a first series of the day as well, 40. Couldn't make it up, mate.
That's a hell of a way to kick off Quake Sunday. But yeah, I mean, Tox, it took him about 5-6 minutes here. I think this was the fight where he gets that rail, 29 HP, about 6 minutes in to actually break through CNZ's defense. So CNZ had the game plan of, I'm just going to use the turret, I'm just going to post up on the heavy, I'll even give up Mega sometimes. If I feel confident, I'll rotate and I'll grab it if I know Tox isn't there. But that worked for about 6 minutes, and then Tox kind of broke through near the 6, 7, 8 minute mark. And then CNZ just switches back to, I'm going to play super patient. I know I don't have a chance. Tox is fully stacked. I'm going to make him overcommit to a fight, and then he just turns it all around, and it's absolutely incredible, the patience that he had. I can't get over it.
I can't go over it either. Like, it wasn't even just the basics of Tox's movement and his aim. It's the fact that the traps he was leaving, when it was the fact that he was making CNZ thought he's going to go to Mega, then he forced himself down to Heavy, then Rocket jumped back up, and then, he could have faked, he could have done whatever, but CNZ was like, nope, I'm not going to go for any items until I know for absolute certainty that it's okay for me and it's safe for me to even try and do that. But he knows what Tox is like. He can leave a lot of traps here and there if he's feeling himself in terms of being on form or not. But CNZ just made sure of it. Listen out for the audio cues, trying to get away bottom mid. And like he said earlier, the turret placements on heavy. He kept changing the turret placements as well. Even though it was always around the heavy area, he made sure that he can keep changing it around to not be so predictable and, let the turret be destroyed for free.
Yeah, kind of mind games too. Sometimes he was there, sometimes he wasn't. So even if you see the turret, it's not necessarily a tell that, okay, he's already posted up down here. Maybe he's rotating to Mega. So really good job by CNZ to kind of get in Tox's head a little bit there. And again, just in general, that is such a hard entry to make into the heavy area when you're playing in Aizen. It's just extremely difficult.
Yeah, it really is. Look at the scores for 11-9, 6-5, 4-3. What a series to start the table between, especially these two players as well. It's phenomenal. Even though Tox, didn't come out with the series win, even some of the accuracy we could talk about, the 70% rail on his Doom, the 62% on his Anarchy on Molten, it was absolutely unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it seemed like his performance was dropping a little bit rail-wise. I thought he was going to hit 75. I thought I was going to be right. I'm never right. It's fine. I'm used to it now. But unfortunately for Tox, the series doesn't go his way, but it was extremely close. So if the viewers win, I mean, we win. That was a great set to start off the Sunday.
Yeah, we're winners here, especially from that series on the first of the day. We didn't really expect it. We weren't really too sure. We knew it was going to be quite close, but how close we didn't know. But we know now. There's literally 1 or 2 frag difference in every single map, and that's what we like to see, especially at the start of the day. But that's the first series all said and done. We've got another series coming up next between Nosfer and Dramas. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon.